Hey everyone, this will be recorded so for folk who are not able to make it, they can have the recording, and I'll send that out as soon as it's done. So again, my name is Alicia Jenkins. I am from Sierra Club, Connecticut. I am a chapter staff and I'm the campaign organizer, and I am based in Hartford. And today is our understanding air pollution, how you can get what you need to know the facts and to help you with that. So, the campaign that I am working on is the Capital Area System, which is a cogeneration system that has been in existence since the late 80s. And it exists here in Hartford, and it's on Capitol Ave, across the street from several businesses. And it heats and cools up to 10 plus buildings on its grid. It's using methane gas and fossil fuels to do its dirty work. And it's been doing that for decades, and it's been causing a lot of air pollution within the city of Hartford, specifically Frogs Hollow, the South End. My team and I at Sierra Club Connecticut, we have been fighting for a good 3 years to make sure that our governor makes the right decision to update the capital area system with renewable energy. So in 2022, that's the year that the state purchased the capital area system. And when they purchased it, they noticed that it needed some updates. And we have been encouraging them to get a study and to use renewable resources to do the update and to also hire Hartford residents to do these green jobs, have them to make sure that Hartford residents get high paying jobs that will, secure economic betterment for Hartford residents and secure healthy air for the city. So this is a fight that's been ongoing. And today we have awesome people that do a lot of the similar work, and they're going to present to you some tools. So I'm going to pass it on to Kanisha, who is also part of my team, to go from there. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. My name is Quanisha Flippin. I go by she, her, and I am a organizer and a coordinator at Connecticut Renew Steering Committee. I've also do volunteering work with Sierra Club. I'm a member of NAG, which is Nonprofit Accountability Group, and also a host of other coalitions as far as like advocating for energy, advocating for climate, advocating for housing needs, everything that is intersectional along the lines to supporting families. At the Renew Steering Committee, we have also recently um, had we continuously did mutual aid in the past, but recently we had picked up a lot more fundraising to assist families that were impacted by the SNAP EBT cuts. And of course, we didn't want families to fall behind with the other needs that they had in their families, whether it was taking care of their energy bills or their rent and housing needs. So, to say the least, it just keeping everything environmentally friendly, making sure that the families are healthy, getting the foods that they need, and just continuing to support the community is a little bit of along the lines of work that we do. But thank you for gathering here today. We're really excited for this presentation. I'm really excited that the Environmental Health Protections team is here. What I will be doing is going along and my apologies, my screen is frozen. I believe we have Taylor to start with. Thank you. Perfect. Thank you so much. Um, I will go ahead and pass that over to Taylor. She could give you a little bit more into depth of what she does at her as her position at the EHP. Thank you so much, Taylor.
Awesome. Thanks, Kanika. Hi, everyone. I am Taylor Musil. I'm the field manager here at Environmental Health Project. Um, yeah, and I just think in the world we're in today, we need connections and relationships more than ever. They were always important, but we're excited to just start a conversation and collaboration today and if there's anything that we have that can be useful to the campaigns that you're working on and the strategies that you have, we want to try to be as helpful as we can. So as the field manager, I manage our community engagement in both of the regions that we work in, which are mostly within the Northeast region of the United States, as well as Appalachia. And then I'm here with my colleagues, Sarah Bridges and Jackson Zeiler, who will introduce themselves once they get to the tools that they're sharing today. But I'll kick us off with a little introduction about who EHP is. Great. So like I said, you'll hear from the three of us, and really, we want to share information with you all, but we want to make sure there's plenty of time to answer any questions you have about what we share, as well as ways that you think that you might be able to work together. And so I'll go through, like I said, an introduction to our organization, who we are, and a little bit of our history and what we work on. And then we have two main tools that we'll go through today to show you how to use them. And hopefully, as soon as right after this webinar, you could start to use them to understand health risks associated with air pollution. And then, like I said, we'll spend some time with Q&A. So a little bit about Environmental Health Project. We've been around since 2012, and we've had projects in all the different spots here where you see a dot. We are a nonprofit, nonpartisan organization that defends public health in the face of oil and gas development. We really got started when there was the fracking boom taking place in southwestern Pennsylvania, and there was a partnership between researchers and impacted residents and some community organizers that really wanted to talk about a part of this, fossil fuel development that people weren't at the time, which was health. And there really wasn't a lot of research. And so it was a lot of on the ground, pulling people's stories together and documenting the harms to ultimately raise awareness and try to stop this development. We have expanded since then to work across Appalachia as well as in the Northeast, and some other projects here that you see in other parts of the country. And we ultimately work to provide frontline communities with timely air monitoring, interpretation, and guidance. And we engage a lot of different folks. So we've provided health information to health providers, health professionals, academic researchers, community organizers, impacted community members, policymakers, and more. And the three kind of main areas that we do our work are within data collection and analysis. So this is a lot to do with air pollution monitoring or modeling to kind of understand the impacts of potential proposed facilities or expansions to stop them. Health and wellness education. So, trying to make sense of what we understand about air pollution and how that might impact health, and doing that through things like fact sheets, educational presentations, webinars, et cetera. And then lastly, policy and advocacy. We're part of, local sort of initiatives that are really focused on a specific site or campaign, and then also regional and federal coalitions focused on, a transition away from fossil fuels and trying to hold polluters accountable. So we'll get into, like I said, two different tools tonight, but I wanted to highlight as well just a couple of the resources that we have I thought might be useful. And so this first one is an example of a fact sheet that we have. So we have a whole bunch of fact sheets. I'll drop a link in the chat related to air pollution, fossil fuel pollution, and health. And these are really helpful for general community meetings or engagements, health professionals, to understand, again, the health impacts of this pollution. Then we also do a lot of immersion dispersion maps. So this is an example of a gas-fired power plant that had been operating without a Title V permit for 10 years. And so as part of the efforts to oppose continued operation and expansion, community, and as you can kind of see, these rings of impact are not like perfect concentric circles. And so this is helpful for things like canvassing to know where to go, where people might be most impacted, and also to help decision makers understand, the footprint of these facilities. And then lastly, we do a lot of analysis of air quality monitoring data. So this is an example of a report we did in Youngstown, Ohio, where their local council is deciding to continue or not a moratorium on pyrolysis. And this was a baseline study to help show that, the air quality as it is, there isn't room to accommodate more polluters. And we're hoping that this can inform the decision making happening there. So with that, I will turn it over to Jackson to talk about our first tool of tonight, which is compounds of concern.
Thank you, Taylor. And I just wanted to say thank you to Sierra Club Connecticut for having us here and giving us the opportunity to share these tools that we spend a lot of time working on. So I'm Jackson Zeiler, as Taylor indicated. I'm the public health analyst at EHP. And I spend a lot of my time working on sort of the research and our understanding of the air pollution impacts of mainly oil and gas development, but more recently, other industries, specifically petrochemical industries, things like living near pyrolysis facilities, living near landfills, and a variety of other industrial pollutants. And what that work kind of brought us to was sort of a gap in our understanding of the sort of speciated and more precise individual compounds that make up that pollution. We know generally that the air pollution from these facilities are doing harm, are not safe to breathe, but we don't know necessarily which individual ones are implicated or which individual compounds are implicated in specific health effects. So to that end, we wanted to sort of get a better understanding of what that could look like and set out to create a tool to hopefully achieve that. Could go to the next slide. So what is and just to roadmap here, I'll give a little bit of background of what the tool is, how it was constructed, but then it's probably going to be most interesting to see how it works. So I'll do a little demonstration of it. But to understand it, just wanted to give this a little bit of background. So this is a little bit of an older slide. We now have over 50 hazardous air pollutants in the tool, and it includes the health and exposure information about each of those individual compounds. We created it using publicly available and peer-reviewed data, mainly from ATSDR and PubChem resources, both federal level resources that do a lot of research in the toxicological space. And that just is made accessible. It's taking all that information and distilling it into one resource, essentially, instead of you having to sift through a report that's like 600 pages long. It presents that in a much cleaner format. And then it allows you to search by the chemical or organ system, basically whatever you're interested, whatever information you're coming to the tool with, you should be able to find information for what you're looking for. Next slide, please. And so this is kind of the gap I was mentioning before that we identified. We know that polluting industries emit things like particulate matter 2.5, volatile organic compounds, hazardous air pollutants, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons or PAHs, and that they contribute to ground level ozone, all of which we again know are hazardous to breathe, hazardous to our health. The literature tells us that. But what we don't know and what we might not understand from permits is essentially if you've looked at a permit for some of these facilities, they at times will just lump volatile organic compounds, X amount, this is what we're going to emit, but they won't sort of delineate which compounds those are. So this tool kind of helps us better understand what those compounds might be and helps us to separate that out and understand that a little bit better. Next slide, please. A couple of use cases to identify here. This is not exhaustive by any means, but hopefully is relevant to folks attending this session. If you just want to understand your air pollution, it might be useful for that to that end, for frontline communities and residents, helping you identify which chemicals might be present in the air from a nearby polluting industry, just because we know certain facilities are emitting specific compounds. So if you live near that facility, there's a likelihood that you're getting exposure to the wide range of compounds, but also the specific ones that we have in the tool. It can help you to connect those health problems to that pollution or supplement or provide supplemental health information uh, as part of the tool. We've also kind of set out to make this accessible for you to bring information to a doctor or a health professional. So, if you're a frontline resident affected by this exposure, there's a feature that I can demonstrate later that will allow you to essentially bring a printout or more specific, easy to access information for a health professional to take a look at if you're concerned about specific exposures. And then finally, maybe also relevant to this group here, is helping with advocacy efforts or any sort of legislative efforts or things with city councils and environmental quality boards, things like that. Um, this could, help a whole host of groups, but it should be able to help you obtain, data to inform any public comments that you're writing or advocate for stricter emission controls or setback distances, and hopefully to the end of holding whatever industry you live nearby accountable to the air pollution that they're emitting. Next slide, please. And then just really quick, there's a whole section on the tool about the methodology that I can highlight if you're really interested in getting into the sort of nitty-gritty of how we develop this. But essentially, these three resources on the left, PubChem, ATSCR, Tox Profiles, and then IRIS from EPA, those are all essentially where we grab information from and distill it into this tool and make accessible. And on the right side, that box is basically all the information that we pulled out and put into the tool. Again, it doesn't look like it looks a lot better than this, but that's just the information that I wanted to highlight that we are bringing to the tool. And next slide, I think maybe is the demo time. Okay, cool. Let me just get my screen share going here. Oops. Okay, is everybody seeing this screen now? Our EHP homepage. Seeing some thumbs up, so that's a great sign. So let me minimize here. I got a lot of windows up. Okay. So to access our tool, our compounds of concern tool specifically, you'll go to our main homepage, environmentalhealthproject.org. You can, since we're featuring it right now, it's just kind of recently released. It's on our banner head right here. You can just click here to access our new compounds of concern tool, or you can go to tools. It'll always sort of live under this sort of nested tab here. So we'll go here. You'll get the sort of splash plate page and a medical disclaimer, which is important for me to mention that all of the information you're seeing here does not constitute medical advice at all, and it shouldn't substitute any medical advice from a medical professional, but is just purely for reference purposes and for information. So always kind of seek advice of your physician or doctor or other qualified medical professional for any deeper concerns that you might be having. So that'll always pop up. You'll get our homepage here, a brief kind of explanation of what the tool is, and then 3 buttons here, of which I will go into. But let's just get into the main compounds of concern tool. It will populate here with 4 main panels that I'll run through just briefly before we get into some examples. On the left here, you'll see our kind of human body diagram with each of these kind of different organ systems, the target organs, whatever you kind of want to refer to those as. Those will be able to filter down by the target organ system. In the middle panel here, you've got all of the compounds that are currently in the tool. So as this kind of grows, I imagine we'll sort of make this a lot shorter, but right now that's the 50 plus compounds that are in there. And we've highlighted the new ones that we've added since our launch. And we're targeting kind of adding 2 compounds bi-weekly. And I'll get into kind of how you can suggest compounds for us to add or information that you might be interested in near the end of the presentation. So that's that middle column. This right column or this right panel here is going to be the information that populates when you select a compound, um, which I'll get into in a second. And then down here on the bottom left, this fourth and final panel are the main filters. Again, I'll get into what that can do for you. Uh, but just to kind of go, just a couple examples that I usually like to demonstrate. Ways that people would approach this tool is, maybe it's easy enough for you to find the compound that you're interested in. You already are coming to this tool with the knowledge of a specific compound you want to know about. The one I always like to highlight is vinyl chloride or chloroethylene. This is a compound that was emitted in a large, substantial way in the East Palestine train derailment, but is also an industrial chemical that's has a lot of uses in industry. So if you click on that on this right side panel here, we'll get our detailed sort of view of what vinyl chloride is affecting the symptoms there. And each of these kind of drop down. So you'll see all the affected organs that vinyl chloride, and again, this is all from the literature from ATSDR and PubChem, and that we've just ported over into this tool so that it's more easily readable. But these are all kind of verified target organs and symptoms from the studies that have been conducted that inform those profiles. So you'll see the kind of the target organs for vinyl chloride. It's these four main systems. For symptoms, again, probably not an exhaustive list, but these are the ones that the literature tells us are the main symptoms of vinyl chloride. If you're feeling some sort of exposure, you could kind of verify it with that. Pathways of exposure is generally so our main goal with this tool was to look at inhalation exposure. So we'll pretty much always have inhalation there. But if there is other effects that we see in the literature that are prevalent, dermal contact with vinyl chloride is something that comes up a lot. So sometimes you'll see that there. The other one would be ingestion, which is a little less common, but it'll always be an inhalation way of exposure mostly. This health risk information tab is going to be useful if you have monitoring or output already and you want to know if the specific level that you're reading on your monitoring is exceeding not a regulatory limit, but a suggested limit from those agencies, like usually the EPA or other agencies that are dealing with what those limits are. We wanted to include both minimal risk levels and reference concentrations where available. And one kind of nice feature of this tool is that you'll always kind of get a little, blurb of like what the terms mean here. So a little glossary kind of item in case, there's too many abbreviations. It'll usually always be in the same section. So minimal risk level is how much of a compound you can be exposed to daily without experiencing a significant risk of adverse non-cancer health effects. So think of it as kind of like the ceiling of what you can be exposed to. And then a reference concentration is slightly different. It's an estimate of the daily exposure that you can have that's unlikely to cause harmful effects to the general population over a lifetime. So slightly different there, but we wanted to include both. They're generally, either in parts per million or milligrams per meter squared. So again, if you have output, you've got readings that are saying that you have a reference concentration of like 0.2, then that might be relevant here because 0.1 is the limit for vinyl chloride that's expected for you to be experiencing health effects. So that might be a significant reading that you have, just as an example. And that's going to be present for almost all the compounds that we have. We also included the sort of industrial sources and industrial sectors where you can expect to see these compounds. This is from PubChem. If you've ever spent any time in PubChem, they do a lot of, they basically list out, everywhere that in the country that's using these compounds. So you can find specific facilities on PubChem, but that's a little bit too specific for this resource. But you'll kind of get an idea of what those compounds can be used in with this source tab. Uses, we also wanted to include like consumer uses. Generally, this is going to be pretty broad category. So it'll always say like intermediates or binder or like a solvent. Almost all of these are a solvent or like part of a cleaner that industries use for cleaning their machinery. So you'll often see those kind kind of broader categories, but oftentimes it might be specific as well. Our kind of evidence tab is going to give you links to IRIS, the toxicological profile here, if you did want to read the 700-page document on the specific compound, it's there for your reference. And then the reference concentration confidence, that's derived from the ATSDR tox profile, which basically says how confident they are based on the studies that they've seen or done on that number of the exposure, the reference concentration exposure. So often that'll be like medium to medium high. So yeah, it's there as well. And then your glossary of all the terms there. So that's an example. If you know the chemical that you're looking at, let's say that you kind of come to the tool and you just are interested in and you can always just reset everything here. You're interested in compounds that are affecting the lymphatic system. You'll get a much shorter list, So right here, you'll kind of learn about compounds that maybe you didn't know were affecting the lymphatic system, and you can kind of click through and read all of those. Just wanted to highlight here with this example that we do actually include some criteria air pollutants. So, like ozone, lead, NO2, SO2. We don't have particulate matter in here because it's a little bit difficult to characterize. Like it can be derived from a lot of different particulates, so we don't. It's generally kind of hard to put in a tool like this. But are open to suggestions on how to characterize that into this tool as well. So if you're interested in those kind of criteria pollutants, those are there as well. So that's another kind of way to get to some of these items. The final one I kind of wanted to highlight was using these filters. So a good example that's going to give us, let's see, enough information here. Let's just say we want to look at something that has like central nervous system impacts, and also does, damage to the lungs. It's going to give you not just an important note. It's not going to give you the ones that do just, like that are only central nervous system impacts and lungs. It's going to give you central nervous system or lung effects. So you'll kind of get a longer list if you select both of them versus just one. But these will be the ones that are, either or of those effects. And then we can also filter down by like the industry. So maybe you wanted to know which ones are implicated just in oil and gas drilling, so relevant to sort of EHP activities, for example. These would be the ones in the tool that are, affecting those systems and are produced by oil and gas extraction activities. Pathway, again, is going to be almost always just inhalation. The last kind of thing I wanted to highlight here was carcinogenicity. So a lot of these are known to be cancerous, but the way that those are classified, sometimes it's not just a binary kind of yes or no, it's cancerous or not. It's based on the evidence that they have. So there's probable as a category, there's possible, which is less likely than probable. This is all laid out in the glossary of terms under the IARC classification system. And these are like group 1, group 2. It'll tell you whether they're probable or possible, or just straight up not carcinogenic. There's also cases where it is inconclusive or there's inadequate information. So one kind of nice feature is if you want to know which ones are just all the carcinogenic compounds in the tool, you can just click, yes, carcinogenic, and you'll get everything that is a known carcinogen. So that can be useful to folks looking at that information. Some of the last information here, checking my time so I don't go over here. Sorry about my cat. The contact us information here is going to have a way to just send us an email, but also to provide us with feedback. We are interested in knowing kind of how the tool works for you, whether it doesn't work at all or whether you'd like something more visually appealing. But there's also this add a compound feature, which will notify us that, you're looking at output we're seeing a lot of this compound that I didn't see in this tool. So you can request a compound, and this would actually be prioritized for us. Right now, we're kind of adding based on our own internal lists. But if we get community input, we often want to prioritize those ones so that you can see that in the tool, probably within within our 2 week deadline. So you can use that feature to add tools. I will say a really popular one that people are submitting to us is PFAS, and we're trying to add those base like each individual PFAS that we can find, and that's kind of a work in progress, but um, that's been sort of like our next big addition here. The final kind of in area here is resources. This was the methodology that I mentioned before. If you are really interested in learning about how we kind of came up with this, that's there. Um, but that would be where you find that. And that is kind of all the tool demo that I had. I don't think I have another slide after this, except maybe Taylor, you want to pull that up again? Um, I think there's just a QR code for the tool itself, but you can always access it via our webpage. Um, and there's our main email for providing any feedback or if you wanted to get in touch with us about collaborative project opportunities, things like that. So yeah, that
Thank
is
you so much, Jackson. That was great. And I really appreciate you going so into depth with the website and everything. So very helpful. Like you mentioned, reach out if you guys have questions, even some brainstorming ideas, or he can also add add some more things. But it's very lengthy, and I do appreciate that information that you were able to share with us. So also, we have next our Airview public demo from Sarah, and we're really looking forward to hearing from you. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so I'm going to go through a similar presentation to Jackson on our second tool, which is called Airview Public. So next slide. First, just what is Airview Public? It's a free online tool that can help communities to visualize and explore local air quality conditions. It's a community pollution monitoring app that brings together 3 different layers of information. It uses air quality data, weather information, and pollution dispersion modeling to help you see kind of the bigger picture, not only what are the pollution levels, but also what might be the sources of those pollution, what's driving those levels that we're seeing. And we can see about a week or a little more in the past in this tool. So some background on what you're going to see here. The monitoring data in this tool is only going to show up where we have monitors that are connected to Airview Public. A lot of these are purple air monitors, which you might have heard of, a really common low-cost community air monitoring monitor. And currently most of the monitors in here are from community monitoring projects that EHP has been part of. Most of those have been in New York, Pennsylvania, and Ohio right now. More will be added to this tool as EHP continues to do projects over time, and also as communities reach out and if they have their own monitors that they've put up or groups have monitors they've put up, they can get in touch with us and we can try to connect those to the tool. So if any of you know of air monitoring happening in Connecticut that you're interested in having connected to the tool, definitely let us know. We would be happy to chat and see if we can get those connected so that you can use this tool to better kind of analyze and understand that data. Next slide. Yep. Great. So we're going to talk about kind of what are the best uses for this tool and also what is it not really good at doing. So the 2 best things that Airview Public can be used for are identifying potential causes or effects of a personal experience and evaluating the impact of a known event. So if you were experiencing some kind of health response or seeing smoke or haze or noticing a particular smell, you could go into the tool and look and see if air pollution levels were elevated when you had that symptom or noticed that smoke or something. So you can use the tool in that way. Or also if you know of an event that happened, this could be an inversion, which can make it so that pollution can't move around as easily, it can't disperse, or an accident or emergency that happened, or you noticed visible activity from an emitter or they reported an event happening, such as flaring or blowdown. Depends on, the type of infrastructure there, what that might be. But if you know of an event, you can go into the tool and see if there was an impact on air quality at the time that that event happened at any of the monitoring locations that are available. And you can try to analyze if that was likely due to a local emitter or not. Next slide. So some other things that we can do with the tool that are kind of like not the perfect fit, but we can still use it for are looking at air quality to inform personal actions. So you can see what the air quality is like and if you might want to exercise outside or open up the windows, or if the air quality is not good, you might want to keep your windows closed, keep the kids inside, that sort of thing. We can also try to identify trends in air quality. This can include associating those with an air quality or a health journal, which I'll talk about more in a second, or doing more in-depth air quality analyses. And we can also use this tool to compare regulatory and low-cost monitors. Next slide. Okay, great. So so it can be helpful to keep a health diary or an air quality journal, especially if you're interested in talking about symptoms you're experiencing that you think might be associated with air quality with a healthcare provider. So you can keep track of things like symptoms, weather conditions, and environmental conditions, which can include air quality, water quality, industrial activities in the area. And with this tool, what you could do is go into AirView Public to note what the air quality readings are. And if we can kind of see what sources might be causing those, if there are elevated levels, so what sources those might be associated with during the times that you're having those symptoms. And then keeping this sort of diary and tracking of both your symptoms and the conditions can help to inform discussions about managing those symptoms with a healthcare provider. And next slide. So some things that AirView Public isn't able to do are view forecasted air quality. So we can't look at, what might the air quality be tomorrow. We can only look at readings that have occurred in the past. Similar to kind of the disclaimer that Jackson mentioned on comprehensive concern, it can't be used for specific health guidance. Like I mentioned with the diary, it can be used to kind of like inform discussions with a healthcare provider, but not to provide, direct medical advice or guidance. And also this tool is limited in where the monitors that are connected to it are. So we can't look at air quality readings outside of these existing community deployments that are hooked up to the tool. So over time, it will become more and more valuable as more monitors are hooked up. But that is one limitation of it. Okay, so now we will go into the demo of this tool. So you can find this tool the same way Jackson showed on our website. You go to the tools bar at the top, and then you'll see AirView Public as an option there, and it will take you to this page where it will describe over here what the tool is. And then we have our 3 main buttons. So to get into the tool, click monitoring, and that will take you to this page. And it will start out with this map zoomed out, and you can see where all of our air monitors are, except I've already selected this community to prep the tool for the presentation today. So you can move around on the map and see where we have our monitors, and it will also show the red dots are the emitters in the area, and then the blue dots show you the monitors around. Most of these networks are set up around a particular facility of concern. So since we don't have any in Connecticut, we're going to take a look at Dover, New York, which is very close by, just across the border. And this is a power plant in Dover, and we have 3 monitors set up around it. Then over here on the left, the second thing you'll do is select the pollutant. Depending on the types of monitors there, these might differ a little bit. I think pretty much all of them are going to have PM 2.5, so we're going to take a look at that. And then there's also a date range that you can select. It will only go back about a week, so there's not too much flexibility here. But if you wanted to just look at, a couple particular days, you could do that. And then you click Run Analysis, and this tab will pop up, which has our monitoring output. And there are 3 tabs here: Explore, Measure, and Attribute. So we're going to briefly go through each of those. So on this Explore page, first here, it's showing us the 15-minute averages. So this, we can see the days at the bottom over time here. And then each monitor is showing up as a different color, and we can turn on and turn off which ones we're seeing. So if we just want to look at this Dover 4 monitor, we can do that, or we can look at all of them at the same time. So these spikes here, you can hover over any point on the lines and see what time that is, what the PM 2.5 reading was, and which monitor it was coming from. This just allows you to see when the air quality is going up and down, and for this particular pollutant. And one really cool aspect of this tool is we can show the modeled impact of the facility. So in this case, it's that power plant. And when the bars are showing up as solid, that means that the reading that we're seeing is likely caused by the associated emitter that is in this tool. It can only look at the ones that are loaded in the tool. We can't look at other ones. It's not a guarantee because, there could have been the air that kind of went over that facility and then to the monitor. I mean, there could have been pollution somewhere else along the path. So it's not a guarantee, but it is generally a pretty good indicator of if that pollution was caused by that emitter. One of the tools that we have in here to look at that. And then next we can go over to the Measure tab. And sometimes it does take a second to load, but it shouldn't take too long. And on this tab, this information is going to help us understand how bad the readings are. A random kind of number is kind of hard to interpret if you don't have things to compare it to. So here we're seeing the 98th percentile of daily readings on the left in this top chart. And so this is showing us what are some of the higher levels that the monitors have picked up during this time period. And we can compare those to the EPA standard, to all the readings that have been taken in this community over time, and then also to all the readings in AirView. So that includes communities other than this particular one that we're looking at that are also in this system. And then on the right, we can also see the average of all the readings and compare those. So right now we're seeing these ones are generally showing up under the EPA standards. But again, we're only looking at a week, so there could be other times where they're higher. And then down here, we can look at the AQI categories. So the Air Quality Index, AQI is how we kind of say how safe or not the air quality is in general. So we can look at, click on unhealthy and see were there any days where the readings would have fallen into that unhealthy range. And in this case, there weren't any, which is good. And the next tab is the Attribute tab. So this is another way where we can try to understand the source of air pollution. So this map is going to show us, these are called back trajectories. And that's showing the route that the air took to get to the air monitor for some of the highest readings that were seen for this time period. So we can see, these come from really far away, but we can zoom in and look closer to this facility of concern and see, did any of these trajectories go over that facility before they got to the air monitor? In this case, all of these highest readings are happening at this one Dover 2 air monitor. If some of the highest readings were at a different monitor, you would see another box over here showing that some of them were at that monitor. So we can see there's nothing going kind of directly over the facility, but there are a couple nearby. So those could possibly be picking up something from there, depending on how close exactly that is. And then you can see these dots along the lines, and you can click on those to get some more information about the air quality. So you can see the date and time it arrived at the air monitor, The trajectory date and time is showing what this dot specifically and what time was the air in that location, and then the reading as well as height and pressure. The reading being the PM 2.5 level. So this is just another way we have to help us look at where might the source of the pollution be, and if we notice a consistent pattern. In this case, we're seeing it come from a lot of different directions, but sometimes we'll see it mostly, most of the high readings coming from one particular direction, which can give us a good indication of, where to look for sources. It is important to remember sometimes air pollution can travel really long distances. Wildfires are a good example of this. And these lines do go back 24 hours. And the further away you get, the less likely, the air pollution is going to have carried all the way from there to the monitor, unless, again, big sources like wildfires, we see that more commonly. So things that are closer on the line are going to maybe be more likely to have been a source of pollution. So just one more tool in the toolbox in trying to understand what some of the sources of air pollution in a given area are. And then just quickly, we have two other tabs here, similar to compounds of concern. We have a resources tab where you can see frequently asked questions about the tool. And then there's also a how-to page, which can help you navigate the app and remind you kind of what each of these different tabs can do. We also have data definitions. This can help understand kind of what are those different EPA standards exactly. It has this helpful air quality index guide, which is color coded. You might be familiar with the colors associated with the different levels of air pollution. So this can be helpful for understanding that part of the tool. And then again, also our data sources, where is this all coming from? How does some of the modeling and whatnot work? And then lastly, we have the contact us page where you can send us an email or fill out the feedback form about your experience using AirView. If you're having any issues with the tool, definitely reach out to us. Things happen from time to time, and our program team is great and able to usually get those things fixed for us. And again, if you are interested in, if you know of any air pollution monitoring happening in your community that you're involved in, or a group you're involved in is working on, you can fill out this form, or you could reach out to us directly to get your monitor added to the system. And I think that's about all I have. I will add links to the chat to the tool, and also to a recording of the webinar from when the tool launched, which goes over everything that I talked about, but in more depth. And you can reference anytime if you're trying to use the tool, and there's a lot to remember. So if there's something that you need some help on, that can be a helpful resource. And I think that's everything we have. So we're happy to answer any questions you have, and thanks for your interest and for listening tonight.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you all for all that information. It was a great overview, very informative, very clear. They have their contact information available. Definitely looking forward to connect. So at this point, I will pass it over to Taylor. She is going to orchestrate the question and answers, Q&A, and take it away, Taylor.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for, spending your Thursday evening with us and hearing about what we have to share. Yeah, happy to answer any questions. I think we're a small enough group that you're welcome to put it in the chat. If you have a question, you want to write it, or if you want to go off mute and just, ask any questions or share any feedback that you have about the tools, we're all ears and have some time to discuss. Go ahead, Martha.
I don't know if it's a good idea because can you hear me? I'm in a public place. Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you clearly.
Oh, great. So that was totally amazing. I was really excited beforehand, but this was like better than I thought. And I see myself using this tool so much going forward, and I'm just so impressed. And I also, Sid Harth is on this call and is working on an air quality monitoring project with the purple air sensors. So I think
Mhm.
hopefully we'll get connected. In terms of PM 2.5, I wanted to comment to Jackson's point. What I hope in the future is that you guys will definitely be able to include PM 2.5 because it is the globally the greatest cause of second greatest cause of cardiovascular disease globally. So the mechanism by which it harms us. So I have no ideas for how, Jackson, you're going to incorporate that into your brilliant tool. But since the mechanism of action that it's hurting people is primarily cardiovascular and then respiratory, I wonder if that's a way to look at it. And just a point of interest, when Sarah, to your brilliant presentation, the EPA made it 9. It had been 12 micrometers per meters cubed recently. So we're increasingly recognizing the danger of PM 2.5. And the WHO reduced it in 2022 or 23 to 5 micrometers per meters cubed, right? And according to the new way of measuring it by WHO, that puts like 90% of the world's population in breathing dangerous air. So this is a huge mechanism of public health disease, and you guys are geniuses for doing this, and thank you.
Yeah, it's such an important point. We've started to talk about the WHO level, even though it's not an enforceable thing that we can kind of point to. It is a more health-based standard. A lot of these things, right, there really isn't a safe level of them. There's kind of like what we can measure or what we've been able to show impacts people, but yeah, lower is always better for sure.
Right, because people even get sick at levels below what are considered safe, right? And that's another thing we know from the public health literature. Thanks, you guys.
Absolutely. I mean, we see there are documented impacts of, within minutes of exposure to the particulate matter, even in the short term. And Sarah's like initial part of Airview Public, you saw that those spikes, like the one that was attributed to the power plant and compressor station, like was getting up in like the dozens, right? So that's like well beyond what we're saying, the long-term average of 9 or the daily average of 35, it's way above. So I want to make sure there's more time for questions though. And I'll turn to, I see Megan in the chat asking about more monitors for Connecticut. We will have our air monitoring funding is small but mighty, and we do have some opening up in the spring. So when that happens, we will definitely reach out and share those applications with Sierra Club so everyone can access that. But that's the best way we can do it. Other than that, we usually partner with people who are applying for either foundation grants or sometimes government grants. We have one that's paid for by penalty funds from a facility. There's a variety of ways to kind of approach that, and happy to talk more. And then I also see a question from Dana. You have your hand raised. Please go ahead.
Oh yeah, and it's very related to that. Is that and this is partly because of issues with the airport, which I'm kind of deviating, but the particulate matter is actually nanoparticles, which aren't going to be measured. But the city New Haven City has put air quality monitors around the area and in other areas of New Haven. It's city sponsored. Can you just give a little quick, what are the criteria to get these monitors on? Do we need their agreement? Do we need, if it's something where it's the city doing it, is that going to preclude being able to link them in?
It'll depend on the type of monitor. And I realized maybe I didn't answer Megan's question directly as well. So the both questions, any monitors that are public, so Purple Air is a great example, can be added to this tool, as long as we know where they are, because that's public. But if the city's using Purple Air, then we could add them. It depends on the type of monitor. If it's one that's more of a private monitor that has password, then we would need to work with whoever installed them to say, okay, hey, we need the behind the scenes kind of information to hook it up to this tool. But if it's already publicly available, it can be added.
So first step might be contact the city and talk to them about it. Okay,
Yeah.
thanks.
Go ahead, Martha.
Well, I'm not allowed to speak twice in a row, so I'm like, this is a total violation. But we know like basically what Siddharth is working on. We know we're following Story and Soil, have put up a purple air sensor in Hartford. There are a couple of other ones, and we don't know the owners personally. I mean, Alicia knows the owner of Story and Soil. Thank you, Alicia. But so maybe we do want to reach out and ask these people if it's okay to connect. But if we can tell you guys about them, we're following these sensors. We're doing work on them. Siddharth is doing work on them. And so it would be cool if you guys could plug that in. So we'll maybe fill out that tool, fill out the email thing and tell you which ones we've been following.
Yeah, that'd be great. That's something that we could definitely do.
And I can connect y'all to Sarah McCoy and to Michael, but mainly Sarah McCoy because Sarah McCoy is the one that cares a lot about the air pollution in the city of Hartford. I mean, Michael does too, but he's more the coffee guy, and Sarah's more of like a neighborhood person. So, and I'm having a meeting with her soon.
That'd be great, Alicia. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions? Questions? Yeah, I think there are definitely some opportunities and next steps here that I want to follow up on. And yeah, as much as help we can be, we want that to be true. And things like Purple Air are great. But the thing that they can't do is sort of assess and make sense of like, okay, we're getting particulate matter from everywhere. What's coming from this facility? And that's like, I think the added value of this tool. And so not to take away from the amazing, public data of Purple Air, but just to add on to it. So I don't know if at this point I'll turn it over to Alicia to close us out. If there's anything else, or Sarah, if you wanted to share anything, I saw you go off mute.
I just want to add on that. If we are able to get some funders in Connecticut connected to Airview Public, I forgot when I started my presentation to mention my role at EHP as the Northeast Project Coordinator on the field team with Taylor, and so I am kind of the point person on our Northeast project. So if we do get those connected and you are looking at Airview Public and you want some help with kind of like analyzing what does this mean, or understanding those things, you're very welcome to reach out anytime, and we will do our best to help you out with that. Or just, if you have questions about what EHP does or anything like that, feel free to reach out.
Yes, will do.
Thank you. And with that being said, we are good on time. It's 7 o'clock. Round of applause here, here. Thank you all for staying on this Thursday night. I'll make sure to send out the recording as soon, definitely by the end of the week. So thank you all.
Thank
Thank you
you.
very much. Good night.
Thank you.
Good
Good night.